gods of Olympus have abandoned me. So begins a player's journey into the life of Kratos in 2005's God of War. Gamers may not have been entirely sure what to expect back then, but the franchise has gone on to become one of the most celebrated series of the past decade. With the long-awaited launch of God of War 3 upon us, we take a look back at the Sony-exclusive franchise that revolutionized action-adventure titles and helped define one of the most popular consoles of all time. Arriving on the PlayStation 2 in March of 2005, God of War was met with critical acclaim and commercial success. Ultra-violent, full of action, and showcasing some of the best graphics on the console to date, the first God of War was, simply put, a genre-defining game.
It fucking punches you in the face and doesn't apologize for it.
It was, at the time, the best looking thing that I had played on the PlayStation.
All the preparation I had in the world could not have prepared me for what the game actually was. Fucking blown away.
Epic, bloody, male power fantasy fulfillment. Once the agent of Ares, Kratos sought revenge against the God of War since he blames Ares for the death of his family. During his quest, Kratos faced all manner of mythological beasts, from hydras to satyrs to harpies and minotaurs, and traveled from Athens to the desert to the underworld and back.
Kratos likes fighting dudes, banging bitches, and killing gods.
Kratos, the God of War, he is pissed off, and he's just killing stuff.
Combat was handled with an easy-to-understand combo system, and the game's light platforming and puzzle elements provided the perfect change of pace from the adrenaline-fueled action. While Kratos' signature chain blades played a large part in disposing of enemies, the most memorable and imitated part of the game was easily the way God of War implemented quick-time events as finishing moves.
God of War kind of set this new standard.
I think that a lot of games use QuickTime events as a crutch. It's almost become a lazy game design choice, but I don't think that applies to God of War.
It's probably the closest you're gonna get to like feeling like the knife go actually in an anime.
How about that sex mini game? Holy shit! Am I gonna circle bangs these bitches? All right.
It's good sex.
Let me give her the old half circle, move it back and forth, finish it up with the triangle.
I played a lot of clones before I actually played God of War, and then when I finally did, it was just like, man, you know, the original is definitely better than all the knockoffs.
It's a game based on the feeling you get after you break somebody's nose.
Developers Santa Monica Studios not only created one of the most memorable games of 2005, but also helped birth one of Sony's most acclaimed and revered franchises. Two years had passed since the first God of War was released, and when word of a sequel first started making the rounds, fan excitement could barely be contained. Of course, the gaming climate had completely changed in those 2 short years. The Xbox 360, Nintendo Wii, and PlayStation 3 had all launched, and many wondered why God of War 2 was being released on the outdated PlayStation 2. Viewed as perhaps the console's swan song, God of War 2 managed to be even more magnificent than its predecessor.
It was kind of like, why didn't this come out on the PS3? But after playing it, it was like it was clear they put so much time into making this great for the PS2 that they had to.
We had Resistance, and when MotorStorm had come out, and we were playing God of War 2. And it looked, you know, at the time, I mean, it looked just as good.
Boasting graphics that truly pushed the PS2 to the limit and making use of the same well-rounded gameplay while telling a story that grew more and more epic as you progressed, God of War 2 broke the mold the first game made, setting new standards in excellence. This time around, players found Kratos seeking revenge on the Olympians once more for the crimes committed against his family.
In the second God of War, he sort of just takes on Zeus. He's taking on all the gods.
The plot of God of War 2 was Kratos likes fighting dudes, banging bitches, and killing gods.
Though the first game may have merely planted the seeds for a sequel, God of War 2's conclusion was a massive cliffhanger, meaning a next-gen finale was all but inevitable.
If they can make the next game just like, basically the next game is just the final boss fight of God of War 2, and it's like, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I was fired up. I was really excited even though I never actually finished the game.
Mwah. Ending was awesome, made me so excited for God of War 3. Wasn't cheapened at all by the fact that I didn't finish the game.
Zeus, I'm coming for you or something, right? He's going after Zeus. And then I remember hearing that and I'd be like, yo, Kratos gone crazy, all right? That motherfucker is going after the god.
So right when the game came out, in Greece, Sony decided to hold a PR stunt, like, over by the Parthenon, I guess.
Sony did some PR thing where they slayed a goat.
It's a goat. People eat goats. If Sony got some sort of letters from a goat's family, then then they owe an apology.
It's a fucking goat. Every fucking goat dies.
That goat had a life. That goat was playing God of War.
Released most recently, but chronologically first, Chains of Olympus took us to a time in Kratos' life when he was a simple servant to the gods. Tasked with rescuing Helios from the underworld, Kratos journeyed to Marathon and Hell itself in an effort to save the fallen god. Fans of the franchise were wary of the shift to the PSP, not only because of its limited graphical capabilities, but also for the lack of buttons with which to control the game. Fortunately, developer Ready at Dawn was more than up to the task, and not only made a game that lived up to its console brethren, but one that also went on to become the highest-rated PSP game of all time.
God of War, Chains of Olympus felt like a next-gen system game in the palm of my hand.
There's few games out there that are like, it's worth buying a PSP for these games, and Chains of Olympus was one of them.
Because the way the PS2 games were, presentation, graphics, and gameplay, I just didn't think it was possible. But apparently it was.
It helped to get Sony to agree to lift the clock limit they placed on the portable, which then allowed Ready at Dawn to run Chains of Olympus at 333 MHz instead of the previously restricted 222 MHz. At the time, that was the best looking PSP game out, and it really did hold up pretty well to the other games in the series. Now, if you look at it, it's still one of the best looking PSP games out there, and definitely one of the best playing action games on the PSP.
And that game looked almost as good as God of War 2, and I remember being just blown away.
After playing the game, I completely ate my own garbage and ate my hat and put my foot in my mouth. Any other tired cliche for being wrong you can think of.
Ready at Dawn's prequel was a suitable snack for diehards eagerly awaiting the third game in the trilogy proper, but fans were still anticipating a final word on the God of War. With God of War 3 marking the end of Kratos' story, what does the future hold for the God of War franchise?
I feel like it's almost like kind of like the Assassin's Creed thing. It's like, where can they take it?
Pretty much kart racers, strictly. Kart racers, puzzle fighters, that sort of thing.
What they probably shouldn't do is Oedipus, because I don't think anybody wants to kill their dad and then have sex with their mom, solve a riddle here or there, and then gouge their eyes out.
Sony's already confirmed that the brand would live on, even if the events that unfold in God of War 3 mean Kratos won't.
I played a Devil May Cry when Dante wasn't the star.
I guess, at some point in the series, it's time to move on, and even though you're attached to a character, you gotta, try something new.
Honestly, anything that came out of Sony Santa Monica Studios that had a God of War attached to it, I would absolutely give it a chance.
I am the God of War!
Yeah, it was terrible.
Zeus, you are interrupting my bitch banging and my dude killing. I want to kill you.
Do you want 2% or low fat?
I got this goatee soul patch, and I'm fucking covered in blood 24/7. I fuck bitches.
For 5 years, gamers have been reveling in the legend of a man turned god. Now that the conclusion of that journey is upon us, and the story comes full circle, we can only imagine what will come next.